Welcome to TOSB Conversation Starters. For today's episode, we decided to break down the concept of bias with Inclusion Champion and DEI expert Shruti Swaroop. Listen on as she sheds light on how to make people aware of their biases and shares simple and easy exercises you can try with your own teams. So, Shruti, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Shreya. Pleasure to be here.
We are very excited about this conversation and especially about the surprise exercises that you're going to run with me. I'm equally nervous, but fully excited. But starting with a few basic concepts, because there are a lot of terms floating around. We talk about so many DEI related terms, but sometimes we do not know the actual definition or how to distinguish one from the other. So it's great that we have you here. So I'll start with the first one. Like, what is the connection between biases and equity?
Let me start from the very basic. So, as humans, we all have biases. It's but natural. It's not that they are bad, they happen. And there's a reason. Our brain takes in more than 11 million pieces of information on any given moment. It's practically not possible for the brain to process that amount of information. So what the brain does is it creates shortcuts in the mind, which makes it easy for us to process. Now, these shortcuts come from our upbringing. So if you have seen a family where the mother is a homemaker, your brain creates a shortcut that says that women are homemakers or men are supposed to be the breadwinners or children are not supposed to answer back. It's just how the brain functions. It just wants to make its life easy. If you've been in a religious family, you'd end up believing that it's normal to have a lot of religious activity in the house, and anybody who is not religious is not a nice person. So depending on the narrative you've heard at home, from your early education, from people who are teaching you. So the first, I think, 8-10 years is about picking up those narratives and creating that narrative in your head, that particular belief system. Now, when that happens, as we grow up in the second half, of your growing up, which is from about 10 to about 18 or 20 or young adults, where we start cementing those thought processes. So again, if I have a belief about religion or gender or money, I will look for it and I'll further cement it. As we grow up, whenever we see something, your brain just puts it in those buckets based on our upbringing, and you start believing, okay, this is how it is, this is how it is. So people from a very Ivy League college or people who are from a premier institute, they are very intelligent. Or someone who's not from a premier institute is possibly not intelligent. So there are those biases as well. We have bias about the way people dress up. Someone who's very well dressed is an intelligent or a smart or someone who has the right attitude. And if someone is not nicely dressed, the person possibly doesn't know his or her work. So we form those buckets. So that is but natural for the brain to have. And that is one part which is of bias. Now, those biases lead to a certain thought process where we start forming stereotypes that all men are like this, all women are like this, all premier institutes are like this, all rich people are like this, all poor people are like this, and there is all kinds of diversity, right? Age, gender, education, political affiliation, religion, sexual orientation, backgrounds, location. And everything, in fact, I always say this, that we are all diverse in our own way. Two siblings in the same house are also diverse. So there is, if nothing else, there's cognitive diversity, which means diversity or differences in the way you think. Now you have biases and we are all different. Those are two things that we've established. Now, equity is a third word that we have. So we spoke about biases, we spoke about diversity, we spoke about stereotypes. Now equity. Let me make this very simple for you. If you had 25 apples and you have 5 people, how would you divide those apples between those 5 people?
I mean, if I don't know other parameters or circumstances, then the simple answer would be 5 each.
Correct. And that's what, very basic maths question that we used to have when we were in grade 2 or grade 3. Five people, 5 apples each. Everyone gets equal numbers, and that is what is equality.
Mhm.
Now think about it. You have 5 people. One of them already sitting with 5 apples.
Mm.
The other four have nothing.
Mm.
And you have 25 apples, and someone has said that everyone should get equal at the end of it. What will you do? How will you divide those 25 apples?
Yeah, then I'll obviously give less five apples to the person one and then divide amongst the other four.
Correct. Because now you're distributing your apples on the basis of what a person needs.
Yeah.
That is equity. When the benefits we provide to others or the way we look at others is based on their needs rather than on the fact that everything has to be given equally, that is what is equity. And that can come in only if we understand our biases, our stereotypes, and the fact that everyone is different. Because unless we understand that, we will always look at people from the lens of equality, saying, okay, let's just distribute whatever I have. But when you understand that you could all, or you may not operate out of equality, you may say, I don't want to give it to somebody else because you don't even understand that that person already has those 5 apples. You don't understand the privilege. So it's important for people to understand bias, stereotypes, diversity to have an equitable environment.
We need to first understand the privilege. I think that's the word before
Yes.
distributing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and in fact, we speak a lot about privileges within organizations where we say that um, in my workshops, I always say this. Most of us don't realize that we come from a point of privilege. Um,
True.
we we all, it's very easy for me to say that I'm underrepresented because I'm a woman, but at the end of the day, I have some privilege against somebody else. I'm an educated woman sitting in an urban environment, uh, reasonably well off economically, well educated. So yeah, I have privilege against among so many others.
So thanks for that clarity, Shruti. And also, there is another term which is intersectional diversity. So what is that and how does it affect our biases?
Let me put that back on you. Can you define who you are for me, Shreya? If I ask you to give me um, 10 adjectives that define you, about if I were to ask Shreya, tell me who you are, how would you define yourself? How would you introduce yourself?
I mean, a mix of adjectives and nouns. I am a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a professional, I'm a wife, I I'm a business head. I love to travel and I'm a daughter, of course. I belong to I belong to Punjab. I like to paint. Yeah, these are the few things that come to my mind.
Great. So what you're also telling me is that you're a sum total of various identities.
That's right.
That is exactly what intersectional diversity is. We are not, and humans cannot be bucketed in one category saying all women are the same, or all men are the same, or all people from a particular economic background are the same, or all people in a particular age are the same. Any kind of diversity we could be speaking about. Intersectional diversity says that we are a sum total of various kinds of diversities that come together to create who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, when an organization is focusing on our needs from the perspective of equity, one needs to focus on that aspect of who Shruti or Shreya is.
Mm-hmm.
So my need for the privileges or the benefits or the way I am treated in an organization will be very different from the way you will be treated within an organization, even though in the bigger umbrella, we are both mothers, daughters, women, working professionals, educated, so on and so forth. And intersectional diversity, understanding intersectional diversity is very important because in fact, we've recently released a paper on gender and socioeconomic background intersectionality of that. On one hand, we say that women are given less opportunities because of the way they are seen, or the way people believe the roles they may get or the roles they may do justice to. The moment you add the intersectional part of it, which is say socioeconomic, the fact that women get even less opportunities comes into play. So access to education. My maid's daughter, she she was doing her second year of education when she fell, and they didn't have access to money and they didn't have access to medical facilities, so she had to leave her education. And now they've reached a stage where they're now thinking, okay, 2 years, might as well get her married off. Now suddenly somebody who was about to be a graduate
Mm.
has not even finished her education and will get married off and will possibly live the same kind of life that her mother was living. So those aspects come into play when we talk about intersectional diversity, and that is exactly where I think equity comes into play, and we need to pay bigger importance to that aspect when we are looking at how we treat people within organization, or how we provide benefits to people within organizations.
So this is very interesting, and more often we ourselves don't realize what kind of biases we are surrounded with or what kind of biases we believe in. So how do you create awareness of biases in people?
Interesting question. We typically, almost everyone, every workshop, and I've now done so many of those workshops, speaking events, panel discussions, everyone asks me the same question. And I have this very interesting thing. Let me ask you this again.
Mhm.
If I were to ask you to create a list of people who you would invite to a party at home, who do you think were the people would be in that list?
Okay, that will be family, friends, colleagues mostly.
People you know, people you spend time with.
Yeah, people I've grown up with, people I've attended the same academic institution with, or people at work or neighbors.
Why won't you invite a stranger?
I won't, I mean, you are asking me to invite a stranger. I probably, now that I'm thinking, I won't even invite a person who I don't know very well. So
Why?
mostly, if I'm inviting, if it's a house party, yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking now, I've never invited somebody who I'm not very comfortable with, who I don't know very well.
And why do you think you do that?
Probably because I want to be at my natural self. Because if I invite somebody who I'm not very well acquainted with, I have to be very formal, and I don't like being formal.
And why do you think that someone you don't know will make you uncomfortable? Maybe the person is going to make you comfortable from the word go. That's how we meet strangers, right? At an airport, on a flight.
Yeah, because if I go and if I attend parties outside my house, if I'm invited to a party, I definitely go meet new people, and
Correct.
some of them end up being friends. But if I'm sitting down to make a list, so maybe some people do that. I generally don't invite people who I'm not very comfortable with. My idea of party is to have people like me around me, if that's what you're getting at.
No, I'm not forcing you to invite strangers. No, what I'm trying to get at is that most of us like to be with people or surround ourselves with people who are like us, who are familiar to us, or people who have something in common. My
Correct.
question always then comes to, why do you think the brain does that? And your answer to that is because you like to be in your comfort zone. My
Mhm.
question again to that is, why do you think the brain likes to be in a comfort zone? Why doesn't the brain like to challenge itself?
I think somewhere we feel that we'll be judged by people who don't know us very well.
Aren't we also judging people without knowing them? And hence we are saying
Probably.
they may make us uncomfortable.
Probably. Yeah.
So, I that is one of the things I always ask people, that if you are uncomfortable or if you are judging people even without knowing them and meeting them, are you operating out of a sense of bias, or are you operating out of your own sense of survival, or are you just operating out of how the world operates?
I think a little bit of all that you said, because all of this actually, governs the mind.
True. A great way of knowing whether we are biased or not is actually creating that list and figuring out, will I be comfortable if I call a complete stranger that I met on a flight, or I met in an airport? I had a good 2 hour conversation on the flight with the person. Will I be able to call that person home? Maybe yes, maybe no. And the answer may not be that I'm biased. The answer could just be that I'm not comfortable, which is fine. But it's worth thinking about, why everybody we call to our party, why is everyone so similar to each other? Every time I walk into a party, why is it that I tend to stand with people who are like me in some way or the other?
Yeah.
Why is it that my entire friend circle is very similar to each other? Now, since you asked me how do you help people identify biases, let me also, will you do a little bit of an exercise? Do you have a pen and a paper with you?
Sure. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Can you write a list of 10 people you trust? 10 people you're very close to?
Mhm.
Anybody from your college days, school days, first job, maids, drivers, anyone? People you trust.
Yeah, done.
Done? You're possibly the fastest person to write the name of 10 people, I have to tell you. On most occasions, people tell me we can't even think of more than 3 people we can trust.
Probably I can't think beyond 10. That's the thing.
Okay. Now, against these people, can you write their age or what you think their age is, their gender,
Mm-hmm.
their education, their economic status, and their professional status? The 5 things about each one of them: age, gender, education, economic status, professional status. And economic status, you can say same as me, better than me, worse than me.
Yeah.
Same way about professional status, someone in the same role as where I am.
Okay, done.
You're really fast. Okay. Now, do you see any patterns in that?
Yeah, age group is, I mean, barring the parents, age group is same for rest of the group. It's similar, like, the other side of 40s. And gender is mixed. Economic status is more or less similar.
Mm-hmm.
And professional status is, yeah, I mean, 8 of them are working, two are homemakers. So,
So,
yeah, it's quite similar. Actually, further, you didn't ask me to write that, but four of us went to the same school.
great. So, same background, educational background.
Yeah.
And if I possibly start talking about cities or hometowns, there'll be some similarities there also, maybe.
Yeah, eight from Ludhiana. So,
Exactly. There. Now, coming back to what we were talking about just before that, right? Our circle of trust, people we trust, have so much in common.
yeah.
So, why do you think you are not inviting people who are outside these parameters? Why are you not inviting them in your circle? Why are you not exploring those people?
Didn't feel the need actually. It's not that I don't like people or I'm averse to meeting new people. I think just didn't think about it.
So, given what you've just done in terms of this activity, do you think you will be a little more conscious about making friends, or would you like to change something, or would you like to bring in at least one new person in your circle of trust?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was not aware of this bias. I mean, looking at this list, I'm just, I'm laughing that, yeah, I've just been with people who I've grown up with or who have given birth to me. So now that I'm aware, I would definitely like to see that, if this is a bias, if this is some kind of insecurity, or it's just that it didn't occur to me. So definitely I would like to explore.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because the reasons could be many. I remember there was, on a lighter side, there was this one session I did, and the gentleman was like, he created his list and he said, Shruti, you should have done this 6 months back with me, this activity. I said, why? He was like, I just got married 6 months back. Now my circle of trust is only men. 6 months back, it was a more equal number of both men and women. And then, so on the lighter side, you hear those statements as well. On the funnier side, on the serious side, you also have people saying that, Shruti, we've been in this role, especially in the public sector. We've been in this role for the last 20 years. So we cannot think about anybody around else except the people we are with. So our circle of trust will have the same kind of people. And so there would be many reasons why you have similar kind of people, and I'm okay with that, provided we know why we are doing that. And if bias is one of the reasons, and we know our reasons the best, right? So if bias is one of the reasons, I think we must take a step back and think, firstly, do we want to make a change?
Yeah.
Secondly, if yes, then how can I do that? And no one's saying, change the entire 10. Can I bring in only one more person into my list? The one thing that happens is the more number of people you meet, your worldview changes, the way you look at everything from education to upbringing changes. I do a lot of mentoring for women in Uganda and South Africa, and I realize that even though we are people from different parts of the world, the challenges they have, and a couple of my mentees have children from the same age group as mine, and I realize that they have similar challenges the way I have.
Yeah.
So that worldview that we are all speaking the similar language despite being in different parts of the world, I think will change the moment we look at people outside our immediate 10 circle of trust.
Sure. And if I understand you correctly, I think what you're saying is that there is nothing wrong with the biases till the time we do not have a negative bias towards anyone.
Yes, biases are natural. There's nothing wrong unless you take away an opportunity or somebody gets an opportunity that the person doesn't deserve.
So this has been absolutely amazing, and I mean, you have put me on the hot seat for the entire episode, which has been an amazing experience, I must say. So thank you, Shruti, for being a part of our conversation starters on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We hope our listeners have found this valuable. And if you would like to invite Shruti to your organization, reach out to our team. Keep following us for more thoughtful conversations with our leading experts out every fortnight on the TOSB podcast. Until next time, this is Shreya Pilani.